Welcome back to Law School Gems with Bria. My name is Bria Riley, and I am the founder of Law School Gems. I am also a practicing in-house attorney for a publicly traded company in their marketing and advertising legal group here in Dallas, Texas. I am so excited for you to join me today as the third video of Law School Gems' second week, and we are diving right into reading and case briefing. One of my favorite topics. I really think it's very essential to the foundation of a successful law school career, especially because it teaches you how to case brief, which helps you apply yourself for exams, for midterms, when you're writing tests, when you're also doing your legal writing and those types of classes as well. But before we do that deep dive, I just wanted to affirm you today and thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. Remember, your name is being spoken of in rooms that you haven't even entered yet. All your power resides in you. Don't give that away to anyone else. Be patient with yourself. Be kind. Be humble. Breathe. I have to tell myself that sometimes as well. And just remember that Rome didn't get built in a day. You know, you're going to have to take this process one day and one step at a time. So remember that throughout all that you do. Always remember your why and go back to it when you face those challenging moments. And if anything starts to feel overwhelming, don't worry about it. Remember, I got your back and I'm right here with you every step of the way, corresponding with you each week of your law school process throughout your first semester of law school. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
We are born to win. Come and learn the basics with Law School Gems.
So reading, all right, you've been given your course syllabus and now you've been assigned certain reading materials that you have to have prepared for each lesson or for each class period that you're going to go to, right? That's very important. For me, rule of thumb, I always tell my law school mentees, make sure you read and you case brief every single case, at least for that first year, and at the very least for that first semester of law school. I really think it's important, like I said before, because it teaches you how to case brief, and case briefing helps set you up for how you're going to write your law school exams, and also for your legal writing, which I've already reiterated before, right? That's extremely important. So making sure that you are reading and case briefing every single case is going to give you that muscle memory, so to speak, when it comes time to writing your exams, and you're already going to be good to go. Now that you've been given that first reading assignment and you know what you have in front of you, I want you to start off by reading that case all the way through. Don't highlight, don't make any notes, don't annotate. And the reason is because you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you're supposed to be looking for. It's hard to grasp that information right up front. So read the case all the way through. It may slow you down, but the better you get at this and the better you get at your muscle memory, the more efficient you'll be later. So put in the time and effort now, read it all the way through, and then go back and reread it again. This time, when you're going back to reread it, I want you to pay attention to some important things. 4 of them: the issue, the rule, the analysis, and the conclusion within that case. Now, the issue is usually abbreviated for the I. And I want you to highlight this issue in a specific color that you're going to pick for that issue, for that case, or for your classes, right? So if you're going to be someone who uses the color yellow for all of your issues, and that's going to help you remember that the yellow means issue, then do that. For rule, you could use a pink or a red highlighter. For analysis, you could use your blue highlighter. For your conclusion, you use your green highlighter. Some professors will require that you C-rack your case briefs, and all that means is the C stands for conclusion, your rule, analysis, and then conclusion. So instead of an issue statement and forming a statement, within your case, that'll be like whether, right? Whether something happened, you'll just state it definitively and you'll C-rack it instead. So there's the C, the R, the A, the C for conclusion, rule, analysis, conclusion. You'll do the same thing with your different color coordinated highlighters. And if your professors require that you do a CREAC, meaning you give a rule explanation for your case brief, do that as well. So it would look like your conclusion, your rule explanation, which is whatever the court relies upon in order to apply that rule to the facts of their case, and then the analysis, and then the conclusion. You can do that as well. The way to determine how your professor wants you to case brief a case is by looking at the course syllabi, plain and simple. The course syllabi is going to give you instructions on that. If it doesn't, don't hesitate to reach out to your professors and ask. It's always better to be safe than sorry. But at the bare minimum, if you can't reach out to your professor or you can't hear back from them or it's not instructed in your course syllabi, then just start off with IRAC. It's very simple. It's very basic. It's a great way to case brief, and your professors will know what you're doing and they will have seen that before if you get cold called on in class and they ask you to brief a case. Now let's talk about case briefing, right? So when a professor asks you to brief a case, what they're really asking you to do is give them a snapshot of information about what the case is about. They don't have all day, and neither do you when you're sitting in those class periods. So they want the meat of the case. What were the issues that were discussed by the court? What did the rules look like that the court applied to the facts of their case? And how did they analyze those facts, right? How did they apply the rule to their facts? And that's how you get to the analysis. And then finally, the conclusion, right? And it's the same type of steps or analysis or process, whether you're doing a CRAC or a CREAC as well. Now, the issue, as I said before, usually starts with the weather statement. So the issue statement is the problem that the court is trying to solve. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have some notes and I want to make sure I'm dropping all my gems on you and that I'm explaining this adequately without confusing the hell out of you or me. So with that being said, let's take this for example, right? Was the train station negligent in failing to clean up a banana peel that Jane slipped on and sustained bodily harm? That is a great issue statement. And that may be something that you're not likely to find exactly in your case set up like that. But a good indicator of an issue statement is whether it has facts in it. Does it have facts in it from your case? Does it have the doctrinal part of the law that you're studying, right? And does it pose a question? Does it present a problem for the court to have to solve? If you have those three components, more than likely you're looking at an issue statement. So the first part is a case law that is applicable, or the rule of law that would be applicable. In that example that I just provided, it would be negligence. The facts would be Jane slipping on a banana peel, right? And whether she sustained bodily harm. Those are the facts. And then, of course, it was set up like a problem or a question or a quandary. Sometimes you can set it up like that. Other times you may want to use a weather statement. So it may read something like this: whether the train station was negligent when it failed to clean up a banana peel that Jane slipped on and sustained bodily harm. The rule are guiding principles that the court is using in order to apply to the facts of their case in order to solve that issue that we just spoke about. The analysis is when the court begins to apply the rule to their facts in order to solve that problem. And it'll usually be in a very meaty section that comes after a string of case law. The string of case law that's being cited within a case is more than likely your rule paragraph. And that'll be a good indicator for you to highlight that as your rule paragraph. And the issue or the conclusion that the court reached will likely be right above that, right? And that's the order that you should try to identify those meaty parts or the case brief and particular highlights that you want to highlight from that case, right? And then after analysis, we move on to the conclusion. The conclusion is the answer that the court provides to the problem that they were trying to solve when presented with that issue statement. So those are your four parts. You got issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, and that's the bread and butter of your case brief. That is going to be what your professors are looking for, whether it be on a law school writing exam, whether it be in your legal writing class, or whether it be on a case brief that they're cold calling you for a certain writing assignment or reading assignment within your course that day. Before beginning your IRAC, I want you to save a placeholder for your facts section because your professors will often prompt you to say, what were the facts of this case? And what they're really asking is, what was most relevant to this case? What did the court rely upon in order to reach the conclusion that they reached? What facts did they find to be most relevant? You're not going to know which facts are most relevant until you get to the court's analysis. The court's analysis are going to point out certain facts that they found relevant when applying the law to those facts in order to reach the conclusion that they arrived at. So those are the facts that once you see that in the court's analysis, you will know are most relevant, and that is what should go in your case brief. You'll want to choose a different color for your facts section as well. And your case brief that you're writing should also correspond with what you've highlighted in your case. Remember when I told you to read your case all the way through first and then go back and reread it again, and this time highlight it with what you think is important? Where you're going to use those 4 different highlighters to highlight your issue, your rule, your analysis, and your conclusion. Make any annotations that you want or any notes that you will, and then you're going to transfer that information to your case brief just like we've already discussed. And that case brief is going to be what you read off to your professor if you're cold called on for that class, for that particular day, or for that reading assignment. It's important to remember that your case brief, for lack of a better word, should be brief, okay? Like I said, we don't have a lot of time to waste in these classes, honey. Time is money, and your professors will grow antsy with you, and they'll help you try to arrive at the quicker or the better answer, or the right answer. But in order to do that, just save yourself time in the long run. Be brief. Your case brief should be no longer than half a page. At the most, it could be a full page if it's a really lengthy case. I've seen some cases that are 15 to 20 pages long. That may be a case that requires a one-page case brief, right? But for anything less than that, half a page should do it, because remember, we're only sticking to a snapshot of information that's really, really important from these cases. So what you want to do is synthesize what you've just read in your case, condense it, and then transfer that information to your case brief. And then I want you to do that on one side of your notebook or on one column of your Microsoft Word doc that you're typing up in your laptop, right? And then on the other side, I want you to save room for your class notes, because when you get to class, and we'll talk about this in the next video, but when you get to class, your professor will also fill in the gaps for your case brief. Maybe they'll drop some information that you weren't paying attention to, or you'll get insight into what the professor deems important about that case or about the specific topic that you were learning, right? And once you get that information, you want to write it along the side right next to your case brief so you can see the differences. You can see what you focused on versus what your professor focused on. And then you can fill in the gaps and you can get better at your case briefing as you go. And the more you do it, you'll find that there are similarities in between the two and that you're getting better at case briefing. You're also getting better at calling out the very pertinent information that your professor thought was pertinent as well and that they wanted to hear throughout class. So that's all that I have for you guys today with respect to case briefing and reading. If you have any other questions or need some more supplemental information, don't be afraid to drop a comment down below. And I will also be sure to try to respond to that comment or at least put out further information about that topic, right? And I just want to thank you again for being here so much. Feel free to like and subscribe to this channel because it really helps me grow it. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. That really helps me reach out to more people like you who came here today to get these great gems. And if you know anyone who's interested in law school or someone who's approaching their first semester of law school, or maybe they're already in it, maybe they're further along in their journey and they just need some helpful tips or some strategies because things aren't working the way that they plan, feel free to share these videos with them and tell them to like and subscribe as well. And until I see you guys next time when we talk about class notes, be safe, be well, and take care. Bye, guys.